Okay, started by before users granted access to the local networks, users on web application maintain necessary to authenticate the user, performing using a simple username password. It could also be combined with other authentication methods, such as a smart card or security cards. This method is left to the organization that is running the web application, and therefore organizations need to use the appropriate authentication methods. Okay. Password key. Typical authenticate in most scenarios using their login credential. Consists of usernames and password. As long as you are on the network, users consider to be secure. However, simply using usernames and password are no longer considered secure when you're on the internet. Another authentication factor should be which means you need to have another security method in username and password. This is two-factor authentication, which sometimes is also known as multi-factor authentication. Task 1 use the password vault. Password vaults are tools or utilities that can store various types of passwords. A user can have several credentials for web applications, network services, and logins. It can store these credential details. Dashlane is a well-known password manager vault. It allows you to store your passwords and use them with a single click of web application's website. Tingnan natin kung matandaan nila yung ano. Wala. 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 So, gawin natin. HTTPS, w/links, set, gagamitin na Microsoft Edge, tapos login, https-lines.com. On Dashline website, select yes Dashline. Then choose your plan. Windows try it free. Microsoft Edge add-ons, click the get button. Add extension on the add Dashline password manager to Microsoft Edge. Extension na yan. Tapos, next, tingnan natin na email. Password ay Practice Labs BS77, Practice Labs BS. Practice Labs 77, Practice Labs 77. Ayan, wala. Tapos, Once na nalagay ng password, i-enter na ulit. Tapos jump into the app. Which now gets you going. Are you first login as your browser? Let's get you going. Tapos pick a website you use. Then we'll help you save it. Tapos here's the plan. Log in, log out. Just this once. Tapos punta sa Outlook. Sign in. That. Tapos yung mga na-play mo application. Tapos yun and okay. So hardware security device used for safeguarding and managing digital keys which are used for strong authentication. Following functions of HSM performing encryption, decryption, manage secure key generation, perform secure key storage, manage stack ban, data encryption, keys for database, ESRSA, SHA1, triple DS, Diffie-Hellman key exchange. They perform various functions such as encryption keys, key exchange, encryption, decryption, cryptographic functions, offloading from servers, FIPS 143, complying black mountain chassis, PCIe cards, USB drives, microSD card, type of HSM, hardware visual hosted, trusted platform module, motherboards of all of the modern systems include a chip that is known as a trusted platform module, which provides a hardware root of trust for secure computing. The system has TPM. You can configure it by accessing BIOS within the system. TPM can perform various functions such as storage of encryption keys, management of encryption keys, perform encryption decryption process, storage of certificates, storage of passwords. Okay. Within the chain of trust, simula sa hardware, password, punta sa secure code, pupunta ng integrity check, tapos validating system. Functioning of TPM. TPM works on two different pre-boot and post-boot. Pre-boot is a secures a boot process to ensure its integrity by scanning the BIOS and unauthorized changes. Post-boot can be configured as a root of trust for authentication, enabling encryption for data protection. Typical use case of VPN, even though several tools can be used with VPN. BitLocker. BitLocker is a good example in the Windows scenario. If you're using the latest Windows version such as Windows 10, you will have used BitLocker to encrypt the hard drive. BitLocker can be TPM. Half the encryption key of BitLocker is stored in TPM, and the other half is stored on the hard drive. When you boot the system, TPM runs a series test to ensure secure boot. Last two. Verify the TPM chip. Provides a method to check if the system is TPM chips on the motherboard. Simply run the TPM MSC tool on the Windows system. Could be running 7, 8, 8.1 or 10. If there's a TPM chip, then console Windows states that it's already to use. Start tayo. Lagyan natin TPM. So search natin TPM.msc. You get the trusted platform module console. Once notice that this virtual machine does not have TPM and hindi internet na wala. TPM is HSM. TPM chip sa hardware, TPM chip embedded motherboard, HSM removable or our external devices uses, TPM is used for full disk encryption, such as using BitLocker for full disk encryption. HSM is mainly used on mission critical servers, which which could be SSL, accelerators, or certificate authorities. Authentication, TPM is used for platform authentication. On the other hand, HSM is mainly used for authentication of author application. Encryption keys stores the TPM stores the RSA key within the chip. So it can also generate other keys on the other hand. HSM also stores RSA but be using asymmetric encryption. Similar to TPM, it can generate encryption keys. Knowledge based authentication or KBA. KBA. The intent of the use of answer recovery in case of other than just to recover your passwords. Some websites may also use KPI login time as part of multi-factor authentication. Authentic exercise to authentication. This is authentication protocols used. Each authentication protocol has a specific set of characteristic capabilities. Quite possible that the authentication protocol has several possibilities. Setting user credential in clear text is still known to be the strongest protocol. Extens- Extensible authentication protocol. Authentication protocol that is used with use wireless networks. The WPA and WPA2 standards have about 38 million of EAP type of special authentication mechanism. Challenge handshake authentication protocol. Cha- Challenge handshake authentication protocol is an authentication protocol that it performs a three-way handshake when verifying a peer of client on network. Server sends a challenge to the client when encrypts the challenge within this password and sends it to the server. MS Chat is used only with Microsoft devices and is considered more secure than CHAP. MS Chat version 2 provides stronger encryption than MS Chat. CHAP does not send the credentials. Password authentication protocol. The design suggested is a password-based authentication protocol. This is mainly used by the point-to-point links to authenticate users. It is important to note that PHP sends passwords in clear text. Due to this reason, it is prone to a sniffer attack. 802.1x port-based authentication method. It requires devices to be authenticated before they can connect to the line. It is used to authenticate devices that need to connect a network, a wireless network or even Ethernet. Client is a device that needed to access the network and its resources. Authenticator. entity that creates the connection between the client and the authentication server. Distinguishes in case of network or a wireless access point. In a wireless network, authentication server is an entity that is responsible for authenticating the request. Once the request is received, tells authenticator whether the access is either allowed or denied. Remote authentication, that is user service or radius. Networking protocol that provides central authentication, authorization, accounting, or AAA perform for users that connect to the network to use various services. Network access service, the gateway that controls access to a network, which contains a radius client component that communicates with the radius server. Users must be securely and centrally authenticated before they can access network resources. It is primarily used for secure network access. Single sign-on or SSO method that allows the user to log on the network once, authenticate themselves and use various network services and applications without having to log again. Kasi save lang yung information lahat ng username at saka password para isa lang. Security assertions markup language or sample. Service provisioning markup language can provision user account in multiple applications at the same time. You can also provision the user accounts from all applications simultaneously. None of the options have the ability to both provision and deprovision user accounts. There are three keys entities has been involved. The user requires the access to web applications owned by the service provider. The identity provider provides authentication services to the service provider for users. Service provider connects with the identity provider to authenticate the user if already not authenticated. Terminal access control systems. TACACS refers to a family of related for protocols handling remote authentication and related services for network access control to a centralized server. TACACS Plus is a protocol developed by Cisco and released as an open standards. Protocols performs allowing tasks. Who can log and manage each device, what operations they can run, log all actions taken on these devices, create the whole packet, including username, passwords, and attributes. OAuth is a protocol for authorizing application access users' information without exposing sensitive information such as password to implement. Hindi ko na sabihin yun. Basta sabihin na lang without hindi na-expose lahat ng information tsaka password. OpenID uses an OpenID service provider to authenticate the user, where the user attempting to log on does not play a role in authentication. Uses an OpenID provider to connect to multiple websites without having registered with it. Kerberos is an authentication protocol that works based on tickets. It is implemented by two communicating nodes need to authenticate each other by providing identities. It was originally aimed at the client-server model, and it provides mutual authentication. Access control scheme. Depending on the different organizations, depending on what they do, use different access control methods. Some assign access to resource based on your designation. Some assign access to the resource base on certain attributes, such as location or department. Other organizations may simply choose to work with rules. If there's traffic that meets the required rules, it can go through and access the resources. Attribute-based access control, ABAC. Attribute-based access control works on attributes instead of users and groups. In this access control model, attributes are considered. Role-based access control, also known as non-discretionary access control, works by assigning permissions based on the user's position hierarchy. Role-based access control, also known as RBAC, uses rules to allow or deny access to a resource. Access permissions are stored in the access control list. Rule controls works on defined criteria, which are essentially rules. Mandatory access control is the strictest in controlling access to an object. It classifies resources and users, and permissions are assigned based on this classification. Mandatory access control allows the administrator or group of unauthorized individual to control access to resources. Discretionary access control allows users to control permissions to their resources. Conditional access is granted based on defined policies in a domain environment. If you are using Active Directory, the system must be part of the domain to apply the defined policies and grant access to the device based on certain policies and conditions. Privileged Access Management, or PAM. In many organizations, users have more than required access. For example, for day routine IT operations, a user does not need administrative access to the system. However, many times this is overlooked by the administrator. It enforces the correct level of privileges to users, defines the minimum levels of privileges to users, applications, devices, and even processes. The level of privileges is directly tied to the level of work that needs to be performed. Intent is to enforce the least privilege to ensure that the network's attack surface is reduced to a minimal level. Yung gagawin natin ano, since di ako makapag ano, tingnan na natin. Kung wala, diretso na tayo. Sige, ano na lang, para mabilis tayo. Okay. Lagyan natin yung root at saka password. Okay. Tapos, after na nag-login tayo sa sa Bibilab Kali, kasi wala naman tayo na, hindi ako nakapag-log. So, gawin natin buksan natin yung terminal emulator. Tapos, lagyan natin yung ls. Paste natin. Touch plab text. LSL. Tapos, after nun, shmod e plus x plab text. Here, tapos, plab text. Pagka-press na enter, ipapakita yun. Ang root nun. Tapos, chmod O2WX plab text. Tapos, makikita. Tapos, na-clear lahat. plab text. Tapos, yung shmod. Para tanggalin natin yung read. Chmod gr plab text. Hindi ko maano. Ma-explain. Enter. Over plus r x. Hindi ko maano. Wala yung plab kali natin. Tapos, change permission with numbers. Read, write, execute. Hindi ko magawa yung kali ko. Okay, tingnan mo. Kasi wala yung ko, plab kali. Kaya skip ko na halos lahat yun. Skip ko na siya. Which of the following required two-factor authentication? Okay. Which of the following functions can be performed by hardware security module? Encryptions. Key exchange. Encryption and decryption. Use a password. Which of the following protocol uses port-based authentication? Extensive. Port-based X802.1. How many entities are involved in two? I think it's two. Just two. Three candidates are parties. Which of the following authentication method can use location to authenticate? Mandatory. Use location to authenticate the user. Rule based. Alam ko, role based siya. Um, Meron pa nito. Done.